Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. We thank God for this opportunity to meet with you to go over financial foundation. So, my name is Kwesi Akwa. I am the Secretary of the PIWC. I'm a financial security advisor. I work with World Experia Financial Group, and I'm a licensed insurance agent as well as an accident and sickness agent. This presentation is to provide a general, first and foremost, so disclaimer, right? This presentation is to provide a general understanding about financial concepts. It's not intended to give an advice on tax, insurance, or investment, since each of us have, we all have our unique situations. So this is a general presentation. Okay, so that's the disclaimer. So next slide, please. So today we're going to talk about building financial foundations and then how to create wealth. So we'll start with personal finance. So what is personal finance? Personal finance basically means how you manage your income, you manage your spending, you manage your savings, you manage your investing, and how you protect your assets. So it's one of the most important life skills that we all ought to master, yet it is not covered in schools or colleges or most university, unless maybe it's part of your course, right, that you read economics. I was privileged when I was going to school. At high school, I learned business methods, and then I learned economics. And then university, I had also to do economics as part of my master's program. So just recently, the government of Ontario decided that high school students are now going to learn about finances. It's very important, especially in this country. If you don't know how to manage your finances, you can really get into serious issues. So today we will talk about income, spending, saving, investing, and protection. So next slide, please. So building your financial foundation stronger. So how do you build it strong? How do you build it right? So like a house, you always have to build it from the ground up. Most of the time we do it the other way around. You should have proper protection in the event that you are disabled, you have health issues, you cannot work, or there's premature death. Then you have something to protect your assets. You ought to manage your debt, so you have to reduce your liabilities and ensure that you get out of debt. Create an emergency fund to deal with certain changes in your job, your business, or to pay for unforeseen accidents or incidentals. So the next slide also a similar thing. So your future actually is not in the hands of your employer, the bank, your broker, or your government. The banks like you when you have money. Once you get into retirement and you don't have income, then that's where you see that the banks don't really like you. And then even if you have money in the bank account, right? And then when you go, there are some instruments at the bank. They will tell you that this is not for you. This is just for the wealthy people. It has happened to me, right? That I had to force, and then I think there was a time that I got a severance package, so that was huge. At that time, then they saw me as a wealthy person, so they gave me an advisor, and then I started working with the advisor to ensure that I put my money into where I want them to be. So the bank is not for you. You have to take care of your own finances. Be knowledgeable about it. Then you can move forward with it. Next slide, please. So before everything, I want to start with budgeting and savings. It is very key for all of us. And what is budgeting? So basically, budgeting is an estimate of how much you're gonna earn and how much you wanna spend, right? So over a certain period of time. So first, you must have an income before then you spend. Okay. So the next slide. So sometimes we look at that, okay, my income is $100. I will spend $50 maybe on my rent, on my grocery, transportation, etc. Then I will spend this on my insurance, then I will save this little money, and then the other pleasures of life. But we always want to advise all of us, we should try the 50-30-20 method budget, right? So set aside 50% of your income to take care of the ones that you cannot, I mean, like your rent, you have to pay it. You have insurance, you have to pay it. Utilities, your healthcare, right? Those things, those are the needs, they are needs. So the needs are your obligations. So set aside 50%. Sometimes we go over it because the income is not that much, but we'll talk about how also to make extra income. So your needs, 50%, 30% for the wants, right? That's the pleasures of life. Your vacation, shopping, date night, entertainment, etc. And then at least 20% set it aside to take care of your savings and your debt. Okay, next slide. So the next slide is a brief description of how a budget will look like. So you have your personal monthly budget, you have, let's say, your income, right? So the main source of income is always our work. So that is a steady income. And then other income. So other income could be maybe from your savings, from your side hustle, all those other things. So that should be the first start. So you have $100 there. Then you tackle your expenses. So your expenses for this month, you categorize it. You can categorize it into your housing, your food, transportation, your insurance, all other stuff, right? And then you make sure, as much as possible, you make sure that you stay within this budget. Sometimes we go over it, that's fine, but consistently going over it is not good. It's gonna get you into debt. The next slide also talks about some of the expenses like Medicare. Most of us, we have the Ontario healthcare, it covers most of our, but then you have to pay for the drugs, so the medication. So you set a little funds aside for that. You set funds aside to take care of your credit card payments and then other expenses which may come up. So these are the little things that you can do. And then when you do every month, you do your total income minus your expenses. Let me use minus, not less. Minus your expenses. You must have some surplus. If you are not having surplus and it's consistently, then you are getting into debt and you are getting into trouble, right? So if your income is more than your expenses, then you have money left over to save. That is the basic. But I'm going to talk to you more about even setting money aside first. So even though when you do the budgeting, you see that setting money aside first is also part of your budgeting. Saving, putting some money aside. It should be part of your bill, okay? All right. And then once you do this budgeting also, it will let you see where most of your money is going. That maybe is not important that you have to cut. Let's say every week you're spending $50 at Tim Hortons, and consistently you are in red. right? In the bank, that's what we used to say, red. So you're in debt. Then, okay, can I cut my $50 at Tim Hortons to, let's say, $30? It's gonna save me $20. This $20, can I use it for something else? Can I put it into some investment? Can I put it into some savings, right? So you see where you can cut. There are some you cannot cut. Rent you cannot cut, right? So those are the things that, those are the wants. You can cut the wants. The needs, you cannot cut them, right? So we try to make effort to cut some things out. So the next slide tells about paying ourselves first. We saw in the slide, it says 20%, right? 20%, the earlier slide. But set aside 5 to 10% of your income to save for the future. So if possible, more, 15% or more, right? But as I said, take it like a bill, part of the bills that you pay, and pay yourself first. Always pay yourself first. That's how you create wealth. If you're always earning the income and it's going out, you are not creating wealth. It comes in, it goes out. I was researching and then I found something in scripture which talks about savings. So I saw a lot, but I took just one. Proverbs 21:20. The new NIV reads, "In the house of the wise are stores of choice, food, and oil. But a foolish man devours all that he has." So this means that in the house of the wise, there's extra. The foolish man spends everything. So let us be wise according to scripture and save something. The next slide, please. But savings. This diagram here is to show us how to start savings early. Some people will say, oh, I want to wait. And to be frank, sometimes I can associate with that. When I came to Canada, like I was working, my money was not enough. I had to spend the extra money that I brought from Ghana to support myself, right? Because I came, I was like, the lifestyle in Ghana, I was a senior manager in Ghana. I came, I wanted to continue the same lifestyle. So I came, I started, brand new car, 2-bedroom apartment, those types. So, and I was not working, but I was like, okay, it's gonna happen for me. And then I realized all my savings was going down, and I got work, okay, starting from entry level. So the money was not, was not sufficient. And I was just basically just to support myself. So I was not doing any savings. I was just relying on the money that I brought from Ghana, right? But later, yes, thank God I got into this financial thing, and then I got wiser. Because the system in Ghana is a bit different from here. Okay, so start saving early. We said pay yourself what? First. So start saving early. So here on this chart, we're comparing two people. One who started saving at the age 25 and one who waited 7 years down the line at age 32 to start savings. In Canada, the youth, you are lucky, you start working from 16, right? So imagine from 16 you start saving. Even the little money that you make, you start putting money aside. Put money into savings or even little investments there, here and there. You start that. From this chart, we see that this person who started at age 25, they stopped saving at age 31. But then because their money was growing or it was multiplying, at age 48, they had accumulated 128,361. The other person who started at age 32 was still contributing. He contributed many, many, many years, right? From 32 up to 48. So every year he was also contributing the same amount, right? The same 3,600 yearly. At the end of the year 48, at age 48, he had 131,221. You see the difference? The difference is about what? $3,000, right? This person stopped contributing after 6 years, right? And then he said, okay, let my money work for me. So then I can take a break, enjoy life with what I'm earning. But this guy had to continuously. So that tells us that it is always good to start early, right? No matter how much the income is, put something aside. Pay yourself first. And if you procrastinate, then it's the main cause of failure. In everything that we do, procrastination is not good. So start early, and then if you put it in a wrong instrument, you're gonna make substantial gains. The next slide, we want to talk about a method that is called the Rule of 72. It was actually an idea that was said by Albert Einstein. He says that the time for your money to double, right? So it's called the Rule of 72. So if you have $10,000, and let's say you are investing the $10,000 at an interest rate of 8%, all right? So if you divide 72 by 8, you're gonna get what? 9. So your $10,000 is gonna double in 9 years. Okay. So this is an idea out there. So the reason why it's gonna double is the effect of compound interest, compounding, right? Just like we saw in the previous slide, the guy who started at year 25, his money was compounding. First year he had 3,883. Then the interest is on the one that he has accumulated on it, and then it goes. So that's the Rule of 72. So if you are investing, you are someone who is safe. I want to put my money in GIC. Fine. GIC is okay, right? But then what is the interest rate? 4%. So 4%, you put 10,000 there. How long is it going to take for it to double? 4 into 32 is what? My mathematics. 4 is what? 1, 8. 18 years, right? All right. So it's going to take you 18 years at an interest rate of 4% for it to double. But then, as we go, we will see some instruments that you can put your money in, and then it will double faster. So this is basically an idea that you should have in your mind, and it will help you in your projections. I'm saving towards a house, for example. In 5 years, 8 years, 6 years, I want to buy a house. I want a down payment of 100,000 to be able to buy a house. What should I do if it's my own money that I'm using to get rich there, right? Where should I put my money to reach there? So these are some of the things that should be coming into your mind, and then you put it together to see how you can arrive at it faster. So the next slide basically compares the rates. So we have a rate here, 2%, 4%, 8%, 12%, right? So if the interest rate is 2%, it's going to take you 36 years, basic mathematics, right? 72 divided by 2. 4% is going to take you, as we saw, 18 years, right? Yeah, 18. I don't know why it was 16 here. 8% is going to take you 9. 12, 6 years. The same $10,000, right? But depending on where you put it and the number of years it's going to take to double for you. So let's put this at the back of our mind when we are putting money aside to grow for us. Now the next slide, very important in Canada. How to establish credit. In Canada, you cannot do most things without credit. You want to get a phone, you need credit. You want to buy a car, you need credit. I think when I came to Canada, I wanted to rent a house. they were asking of my credit. So it's my friend who had to stand because I came, I wanted a big house, right? So it's my friend who had to come in and guarantee for me. I had no credit. The car dealership, they just wanted to sell their car. So once I could pay, I was like, oh, this is how you establish your credit. So they gave me a facility, right? Because I give a down payment, so they gave me a facility. But it helped me because that's how I got started. And then the bank, I think the bank also, because I brought money, they gave me a $500 credit card limit. So you need a credit history in order to get credit, and you can't get credit without a credit history. As I said, in my case, I got a credit card from the bank, which was $500 limit, and then the car dealership, I made a huge down payment, so they helped me to establish my credit. So you need to establish your credit. One way or the other, try and establish your credit. If you're a student, you can get a student card and use that. You can get a secured credit card, okay? And then you can start from there. Or you can be an authorized person, maybe on your parents' card or something. That's how you start. And then all credit builder loans. There are some loans that they give, and then I help them. A few companies that I know that helps people to build credit is Coho Financial, Neo Financial. They give secured credit cards, and then you can use it to start building your credit. And then one other thing about credit is that once you get the credit, how do you establish it and make sure that you're creating a credit history is how you spend and how you pay. So if you have a credit limit of 500 and you spend all the 500 at a go, it affects the credit history. We will talk about how the scores are done and all that. So it's basically your credit history, how responsible you are with money. That will make other lenders comfortable to give you more money. And in Canada, we use credit to start to build everything. You need a house, you may follow your line of credit to pay for your down payment or something. Or different issues you may need the credit. So it's important that we establish our credit and then we manage it well. Any questions so far? I think I'm rambling. Any questions so far or not yet? Okay, I think we'll get to the interesting part. Okay. So the next slide, I will talk about a few, I think I even spoke about it, 5 ways to build your credit from scratch, right? So establishing a positive credit history now, you start early is good, right? Because it takes time to build a history. So always like paying yourself first, investing credit is also important. Start as soon as you can. So even if you're a student, get a student card. If you've not started yet, I would say start, but don't start too fast. Like today you're applying here, you go everywhere you go, you apply. It also affects your credit. So get one first, and then at another time you get a second one. I don't usually recommend just getting one card. I don't recommend getting many. I would say 1, 2, 3, right? The reason why I say 1, 2, 3 is this. They all have the billing cycle, right? If you have only one credit card, for example, using one credit card, the easier of you reaching the max is very easy. But you have 2. This billing cycle is from maybe 1st to 15th. The other one is maybe in between there, right? Once this one is exhausted and you need to make a larger payment, you can move it onto the other. Then you have the grace period, because they always give a grace period to pay, right? So if you have 2, you'll be able to manage your payments very well. So start slow, get a student credit card, secured credit card, and keep your balances low. right? Keep your balances low. So the balances, if you get the limit, whatever the limit is, don't make what you owe more than necessary, because mind you, it's just credit. It's a facility, you have to pay it. So don't, and pay on time. Don't let late payments come on your account. That is not good this day. So these are some of the things. And then the next slide, we will talk about what does your credit score mean. So your credit score, basically, what does it mean? So it's a number that gives to score you as a person with credit, right? So it scores between, in Canada, it scores between 300 to 900. So 300 to 559 is poor. This diagram here varies from some places. By slight variation that you may see somewhere else, but basically the idea is the same. So fair is 560 to 659, good 660, 724, very good 725, 759, excellent 760 to 900. So always be above at least good, all right? If you are here, then you need to repair it. So you have to do some distance. And what makes the score is about your payment history, whether or not you are paying your bills on time or at all. Maybe some people, they don't pay at all. Some people are always paying when they get your credit history. It's not only about the credit card, it's also about your utility bills, your phone bills. They all affect your credit. So make sure that you are paying your bills on time. Your outstanding debt is always low. All right, don't keep it high to the limit. If you have 3,000, you don't, every time your limit is 2005, 2000, 2008, right? Keep it low. Let's say 30% is good, if you can. Sometimes things happen, but consistently keep it low. And then the credit types. Have some credit mix. For example, you have a mortgage, you have a car loan, you have a credit card debt. So the mix also helps in the score. If you just have a credit card, it doesn't affect the score too much. But if you have a mix, right? So I always advise people that when you go to the bank and the bank says, okay, we've seen your account is running good, we want to give you a line of credit. We always recommend that take the line of credit. It's not that you have to use it, take it, right? It helps in building your credit. And then once in a while, you use it for some incidentals, and then you pay it back. It also helps you to build your credit history. And then the length of the credit history. Remember we said start early. If you start early, then you build the credit history, right? So the length of the credit history also helps in establishing the score. How long you had credit and how long you've been credit worthy, right? And then how many times you've tried to get credit. If within a very short span, you apply in A, you go to RBC, you go to PC Bank, you go to Walmart, you are all over the place applied, it brings down the score. So don't do that, right? Some of us as credit analysts, sometimes when we are looking at businesses' credit, we look at why all of a sudden there's this check on their this state. It means either the business is going down, that they are trying to get credit all of a sudden, or their balances and all that. So we use that to assess credit of businesses and business owners. So bear that in mind. Now, the next slide will talk about the factors which affect your credit score. So how you pay your bills is very significant. Here we see that it's 35%. The amount of money you owe, 15%. The available credit, 15%. Length of credit history, 15%. How many recent inquiries, 10%. And new credit that you have received, also 10%. So learn how to control your debt, or your debt will control you. Any questions on credit? Okay, all right. As we go, I will wish that it becomes a little interactive. All right, okay, great. I did this presentation for some youth, and then we spent an hour just to get to this side. Yeah, because it was a lot of questions and answers. They were like, okay, even budgeting, how do you do this, and how the credit also, right? Okay. So now you debt management. We'll talk about debt management in this thing, but in debt. So a credit report basically is like your second resume, right? It tells you who you are financially, and you can check your credit at equifax.com and TransUnion. It's all free. These days, most of the banks also offer that, so you can always check it. And then you can, if you see that your score is low, you can do things to build it up. And we have talked about things that you can do to build it up, right? Okay. So the big one is credit card debt. So that will be the next slide. And then the next two is all about credit card debt. Some strategies for reducing credit card debt include: don't get more debt. Don't always be paying the minimum balance. It's a nice way of putting it, and especially it affects newcomers who come to Canada. They get a credit card, and the bill comes and it says, pay minimum balance $10. Oh, that's cool, eh? All right, I'll pay $10. But then the interest on the balance that you owe them is 19 to 29%. Some are very, very high, right? So don't pay the minimum. If you can, pay all the balance. One other thing that some people use is that if you have a line of credit, the interest rate on the line of credit is lower. So if you are hard up, right, use your line of credit to pay the credit card debt, right? Yes. So that, yeah, get the mic so we can hear you.
Okay, so I had a friend who said that, like, well, her thinking was when you have your credit card balance, right? She says, oh, never pay off the full thing. Like, leave like 10 to 30% of it on the card so that, I don't know, it shows that, I don't know her reasoning, but she says like every billing, she never pays the full thing. She always leaves 10 to 30% of like the full, I don't know, the full charge on there. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So what is happening is this person has an idea that I want to build my credit, right? But then in the other way of building their credit, they are also accumulating debt. Because if you don't pay it off, right, you are paying, right? You make a payment. But then the remaining balance, it said what, 30%, pay 30%. So you owe the bank 70%. And the interest of that 70%, imagine 20% on 70% of that balance. And it grows compoundly. Not simple interest, compoundly, right? So you'll be surprised. It will take you a very short time for you to get in debt. So as much as you can, once, maybe some days you cannot pay all off, that's fine. But don't let it be consistently. Consistently, it will get you into debt. All right? Consistently to get you into debt. That's why I was suggesting, use maybe your line of credit, which is a lower interest rate, to pay off your, if you want to do that, right? They want to do that, don't pay everything off that thing. Use a lower facility, right, to pay off the high interest one. Yeah, so the high interest loans, please always try as much as possible to pay it off. If you cannot, once in a while, it's okay. But consistently, you are getting into debt. That's what I'll say. And then use cash, debit, or prepaid card as much as you can, and pay only for the necessary things with the card. And as we have gone through the slides, cut off unnecessary expenses, right? I don't have cable TV. Those are the things that I came to this country, I didn't know I had everything. Like, that Ghana life was still in me, right? Yeah, because Ghana DSTV and those things, right? So when I came, I had cable TV, I had home phone, and I had a cell phone, right? When I got wiser, I cut off my cable TV. I cut off my home phone. I have a cell phone. Why do I need a home phone for? Right? Yeah. So those are things that as we go along, we learn. Okay. The do's and don'ts of using credit card. That's the next slide. So maybe it will help you with some of the answers. So let's go to the don'ts first. Use credit card. Do not use your credit card to make ends meet. There are some people who have used their credit card to pay their rent, right? Well, maybe out of necessity, but it is not a good advice to do that. Make sure you're making some money to use that for that. Using the credit card for so many other things, right? Make ends meet. So those are one of the things. Don't owe more than 5 cars at one time, unless you know how to manage your budget, how to manage your money. If you don't, please, you will be trapped, and you'll be doing, excuse me, you'll be doing that 30% type of thing. So try as much as possible to not own a lot of credit cards. It can trap you into excessive expenses because you go to the shop, and then these days what they have is you have the rewards. Spend this, you get this reward. Don't get trapped into it. Always remember your need. Good. Don't pick the first credit card you see. Research into options. There are many credit cards out there. Some give you the reward, the cash, and you get it at the end of the year. Do I need that? Why do I want to accumulate money, and I get it at the end of the year? Some will give it to you at the end of the month. How much you spend, you get 1%, or sometimes you assess how much, like when you go to grocery, they will give you 2% credit reward. I will not say cashback, because cashback in the payment system terms is different from how sometimes they call it here, right? But cashback is when you go to the teller and it says, do you want some money on your credit card? Don't do that too. That is cash advance, and that is more expensive than this thing, okay? Sometimes maybe, but in Canada, most of the places that you go, you can use your card, right? Sometimes like you say, oh, I will need cash to pay for taxi or something, so you needed a cash. So that one, don't be doing that. Don't exceed 25% of your credit line, since your debt may start to affect your score. Yes, that answers you, right? Okay. Don't use the reward program as an excuse to buy more, and then as much as you can, don't make large purchases with your credit card unless you can pay the balance for after the grace period. So you have the grace period, 21 days, your money is ready, you pay it off. Or use other means, lower interest rate to settle that. And then the do's that you have to do. Review your credit card statement regularly. Some people, they don't, and then somebody may be spending on your card. You may not even be aware. So always review your credit card statement. These days, we all shop online, right? Sometimes your card gets compromised and you may not notice it. So always review your credit card statements so that if you see any anomaly, you report it as soon as possible. Pay your bills on time to avoid late fees, and it will also, you pay it on time, it avoids impacting your credit. Pay off your full balance if you can to avoid the interest. Reduce your credit card limit if you are tempted to overspend, right? If there's that temptation that, oh, my credit limit, $10,000. Okay, good, there I go. I'm gonna spend $8,000, buy this large TV screen, right? But please, that's a trap. And then take advantage of the reward program, but use it wisely. Use it to your advantage. Don't let them trap you. And then, if you can, protect yourself against the credit card fraud. Basically, know like your PIN, all those type of things. Make sure that you are securing your card. Any questions? Okay, good. You guys are all great guys. So, okay. Now, the next slide, we want to talk a little briefly about good debt and bad debt. So, on both sides, we have, these things can be debatable, but basically, the bad debt are when you use credit to facilitate these things, right? So you borrowed money and you're using the money that you borrowed to buy fancy car. It's bad debt. You know, when you buy a car, the moment it gets out of the dealership, the value goes down, right? You cannot go back and sell it at the same price. So a fancy car is if you have your own money and you buy in the fancy car, then that's fine. But you have the borrowed money to use it for that, that is a trap. Educational loans, good debt. Business loans, good debt. Mortgages, good debt. Why is it good debt? Good debt because you are acquiring that, let's say, education to make yourself someone who can earn higher. So it's an investment. Business loan, you are taking the business loan to buy more equipment, to grow your business, for your business to become bigger, for it to make more revenue. So it's a good debt. You're taking a loan to buy a house, and that's how most of us will create wealth in Canada, because the house can be $500,000, $700,000, $1 million, right? And you buy the house gets equity, and the house may be valued more than how much you purchased it in the first place. So that is what a good debt. Using a loan or your borrowed money for luxury items, right? Expensive watches. Like I was saying this and somebody was telling me, oh, okay, but I can buy a Rolex, and then the Rolex can cost maybe like 25,000 more in the future. So is it not a good investment? And I said, it's a good investment if it's your own money, right? But borrowed money to do something like this, it's a bit risky, right? What about if you never get to sell that Rolex, or, right? So some people do that. They use money, they invest in jewelry, right? They buy gold, they buy all those type of things. But if it's your own money, that's good. Borrowed money, there's a risk there and there. But so just manage it well. Credit card debt, right? Some people, what they do, they use this credit card balance to pay another credit card balance, right? So there's, when the bill is due, they use credit card A, use it to pay credit card B. It's a tricky way of managing your debt, but it's risky, because your credit card is always high. As much as possible, maybe use line of credit to do that type of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Emergency fund. The next slide, we talk about emergency fund. When we started, we talked about saving for emergency. So when you start saving first and you are paying yourself first, right, and you start saving, try as much as possible to create an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months if you can, of your income to deal with sudden changes. You may lose your job. In Canada, it's very easy. Today you are here, job A, tomorrow you are no more there, the job's is no more there, they pay you severance and then you move on, or something happens, right? So, or for unforeseen circumstances. So this emergency fund is an idea that it's money that you have put aside so that it is easily accessible, right? Accessible. You don't put emergency fund investment which is locked. When something happens, you may not have access to it. So it should be where you can access it. So it can be medical bill, it can be that you have to, an emergency, you have to travel back home. I told you about my story. I came to Canada. Every year I was going to Ghana. Yes. When I came initially, yes, every year, right? And I was putting it all on my credit card. Yeah, I've had my stories. So every year I was going to Ghana, and yeah, but that was not emergency. I was not going to Ghana for emergency. I just was like, oh, I'm stressed here. So every time I get my 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I take a flight and then go to Ghana. Yeah, but emergency is for, if you travel for emergency purpose, something could happen back home and you had to go, your car repairs or something, emergency. You have to repair your home, medical emergencies, right? Those things happen. So you lose your job. So 3 to 6 months, when we start talking about savings and investment, you will see where emergency fund, you have to create it. Not in a savings account, okay? Because savings account, the rule 72, remember? The rule 72. So we'll talk further and then we'll see that. Okay, so the next slide, now we're going to talk about wealth. All right? So now we've talked about basic things, about debt management, we talk about emergency fund. Now we're going to the next level. How do we create wealth? The 6 laws of wealth. The first law of wealth says that keep a part of all that you earn. Keep a part, right? We talked about keeping 5 to 20% of your income. So here it says save at least 10% of your income. The next one says put your savings to work for you. Invest it so it will what? Multiply. The third law says that avoid debt. The poor pay interest while the rich earn interest. Don't speculate in get-rich-quick schemes. I know a lot of people who got into Bitcoin, right? Yeah. It's also there, but you have to know your restaurants. Okay. Invest in solid businesses that is long-term. Invest in yourself. Gain knowledge and skills of increasing your earning power and increasing your money. And then safeguard your growing fortune with diversification and insurance. So diversification basically means not putting all your eggs in one basket. Yes, Jess.
Okay, I know you'll probably get to this, but you mentioned like investments, but I wanted to know like what do you recommend when it comes to investing your money? Like, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
That is where we are now. So we'll get to the various investment instruments. Okay. So the next slide, saving versus investing, right? What's the difference? We say save 10 to 15 to 10% of your money. So what's the difference, savings and investment? So what is savings? Savings is basically putting your money aside for future goals, right? So it can help cushion in case of emergency. So yeah, so it's saving, putting money aside. Then what is investing? Investing in the process of buying an investment product with the expectation that your money is going to work even more and give you more money over time. Okay? So basically, saving money means keeping your money safe somewhere so that it is available when you need it and it has a low risk of losing value. That is savings. That will be the next slide, some key takeaways for you. Investment comes with risk, but it also has potential higher returns. Investing typically comes with a longer time horizon. It's not 3 months, 6 months. No, that's not investment. That's savings, right? So if, for example, you can invest in your child's college or one's retirement, or you invest for something other long-term, medium to long-term. Both savings are investment. Investing are key pieces to one's personal finances. I would say have both. Save and then invest. Now, these my two rich guys here on the next slide. Okay, these are some of the wealthiest men in the world, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. So they are telling us that savings means you put your money to rest. Somebody was asking me, what about if I put my money under my bed? Okay, I think there's a parable in the Bible about that. You can relate, right? Okay, and then investing. Investing basically means putting your money to work for you, all right? So means your money is working for you. Savings, your money is resting. It grows. It will grow, not like it's resting, not it will grow, but it grows slowly, right? So these days, I think the investment accounts, they pay what, 2%, 1%? Yeah, right? But GIC is 4%, yeah. So GIC, at least you are investing, right? Because it locks your money for a certain period of time. You are investing. But savings, yeah, you don't actually grow your money. So the next slide, we'll talk more. If you want to create wealth, then it means you have to invest your money. You don't create wealth by saving your money. So invest your money. I'm not going to talk about how to create business. I'm just going to talk about, investing. Business is also a part of creating wealth. So first and foremost, these are the paths that we've listed here. Have a steady income. You cannot create wealth if you don't have an income. So first you must have some income, and then you set some aside to invest. Have some of the money left over to, after meeting your financial obligation, have some money left over. Consider some effects in your personal situation, like getting married, having children. Consider all that as well. You have built up your savings, including emergency fund, 6 to 3 months emergency fund. We'll talk about some companies who have some good interest rates that you can put your money in savings over there. And then you have to do that before you establish an investment capital fund. Do your homework before investing in anything. We said over there, gain knowledge. And then you have to know your risk tolerance, set realistic expectations for your investment returns, and develop a diversified investment plan. After you've done this, then you are ready to invest. So where do you put your money? The next slide. So in Canada, you know, in Canada, our anthem is "Oh Canada," right? Yes. But it's O-W-E. O-W-E. You make money, yeah, you are taxed. You spend your money, you are taxed, right? You remember you go to the shop, the man, you buy this, you say $50. Oh, $50, that's cool. You go to the teller, $50, 13% tax. You get your paycheck, tax is taken. You save your money, you pay tax. You ever receive a T5? That's it, right? And then finally, even when you are not here, you are not on air, you still have to do your final taxes. So we are taxed everywhere. So know these things. There are some instruments which is taxed now, instruments which is taxed later, and instrument which has a tax advantage. So know these instruments available. So if you have a savings account, you have a GIC, you have a stock, you have mutual fund, those are checking account, those are taxed now. So whatever interest that you get in it, at the end of the year, the bank will give you a T5. And then you have to add it to your income and submit as your income tax return, and you'll be taxed. Tax later instruments are, some of this is the company pension, RRSP, annuity, those terms, there are a lot of them, the RRRs. And then the tax advantage one, these are the ones that, well, all of them you can combine to your advantage, but we'll talk more on the tax advantage one. For young people, I will say take advantage of more of the tax advantage one. TSFA, RESP, life insurance, and then other instruments out there. So we have registered and registered accounts in Canada. So non-registered accounts are basically taxable, right? Because it's not registered. The government puts in, help us with some of these instruments to help us save without always being taxed. So there are non-registered accounts which are taxable. Your bank account, if you have a bank account, investment account which is non-registered, you'll be taxed annually. If you have a registered account, so pension plan, RRSPs, education fund, TSFA, those things are tax registered. So that's why it's called RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan. Tax-free savings account, it's all registered. Registered Education Savings Plan. So registered, the R means registered. So registered means that it's an instrument which the government has facilitated us to have, but there are some conditions with it. And it helps you to take advantage of the tax composition in there. So the next slide, yeah, we'll go to the next two slides. Okay, let's go to the RRSP. I'll talk about RRSP. Yeah, that's the next one. Okay, good, thank you. So, registered retirement savings plans. Most of us young people, we don't think about retirement, so RRSP, when we talk about young people, are not interested. But basically, RRSP is, if you work anywhere, right, your company may decide that, okay, we want to put some money into your pension for your retirement, okay? Some companies, they offer RRSP contribution matching. So if you contribute 4% of your income towards your RRSP, the company also gives you 4%, right? So if you contribute, let's say $40, $40 as 4% of your destiny, they also add $40 to it, so it becomes 80, right? From my experience, I would say take advantage of it. It's free money, take advantage of it. I worked 3 years in a company, I didn't do that. So total loss there for me. So why do I say take advantage of this? RRSP helps you to reduce your taxable income, but you are saving for the future. It will be taxed later, right? But then it helps you to reduce your taxable income. When you do it at source, let's say your income is 100,000, they take that RRSP component out of that 100,000 before the tax is even applied to it. Okay? So take advantage of it. And a young person, if you don't have a home, for example, there's home buyer plan in an RRSP that you can take advantage of. So it's not that you are saving till like you are 65, 70, whatever, right? You can even use it as a down payment for your house, and that's your money. And you will not be taxed when you use the home buyer's plan. You just have to contribute it back. So it's tax deduction when you put the money in an account. There's no annual tax on the income earning in that account, right? It ends, you put it in a savings or investment. The interest in that account is not taxable until maybe you withdraw it. Money withdrawn is fully taxable in the year that it is withdrawn. And maximum contributions, there are rules about this registered fund. So maximum contribution rule apply here. Later we'll look at the various ones so you can always select the best for you. For lack of time, I will not go into too much detail. Okay, just brush over everything. So RRSP, some of it, the next slide, we'll talk about the types of RRSP. So I talked about if you work in a company, right, the company helps you. That's the group plan. There's also the spousal plan where husband and wife contribute to towards the RRSP, which whoever has more room or whoever has in the higher tax bracket to take advantage of the tax system. And then there are self-directed plans where you decide when and when you want to invest your money into an RRSP, and there's individual plan. So the plan is that consistently you are contributing towards your RRSP. Any questions on RRSP? Okay, good. You guys are good students. You know everything, or you understand everything. Okay, so the next registered retirement income fund that I'll talk about is RRIF. Okay, so this one I'll just brush it off and then go to the next slide, because this one is for retirement. When you have to make use of your RRSP and move it here so that you don't pay a lot of tax on it. So we'll go to the next one. The next one is very important because most of it go to college and then we have to take student loans. So registered education savings plan. It is to help our kids to go to college. So the parents put money and save for the kids' future, right? And the good thing about this is that the government gives some grants and some bonds on top of what you contribute. There's always a limit anyway, right? So if you start early, every savings. But this one, it ends when the child, who is the beneficiary, gets to age, they finish high school. So once they finish high school, this fund ends, and they either use the fund that they've accumulated to go to college. It is not fully tax-free because you may have to account for it, okay? But then it is assumed that you paid for college, so the expense is there, right? Or if the child even does not go to the college, right, they are at that time starting to work. So they will be in the lower tax bracket. So they will take advantage, they will pay less tax on it if they had to take money from it. But then listen, you receive the government grant, you receive the bonds, so why don't you want to use it? And more in Canada, this facility is actually more for the women, because it's the women who get the child benefit money, right? So please, when you get a child benefit money, put a little aside for the children, for their education. You can start $25, $30 a month, you can do that. And when you receive like $100 for the child or whatever amount that you receive, you can set aside. But it is advisable that you do that and you start early for the child, so that they don't go to college, take student loan, and after college, fresh young person starting life with a debt. Okay. Then we have the registered disability savings plan. So these are for eligible Canadians with disability. So it also helps them to save money for them. The parent can do that for them, or the kids themselves can also do that. So this one, we should also be aware of it and take advantage if we have to. Then the almighty tax-free savings account. So tax-free savings account is also a registered savings account, so it has a lot of investment perks in them. You can hold So, the next slide, please. Who can open a tax-free savings account and how? So, any individual who is a resident of Canada who has a valid SIN. So, even if you have a temporary SIN, you can open a tax-free savings account. So, tax-free savings account, how it works is that the moment you turn 18, you have a contribution limit for the year that you turn 18, and it accumulates. So if you do not contribute this year into your tax-free savings account, that contribution room is available for you the next year. Okay? And then if you contribute, let's say this year is $7,000, you contributed $5,000, you have $2,000 contribution room for the following year to be added to the next year's contribution room. And then let's assume that you contributed 5,000 and you withdrew 2,000. You took out 2,000 for something, some incidentals or something, right? That money that you took out also becomes available to you as your contribution room for the next year. So those are some of the advantages of tax-free savings account. And also, you can open, we spoke about diversification, right? So diversification means that you can have multiple tax-free savings accounts at various places. You can have more than one tax-free savings account at a given time, but your contribution limit must not exceed the government set limit for the year or your contribution room. So let's say you opened the tax-free savings account last year. Last year, 6,500. So this year, no, when you turn 18. So if you were born in Canada, when you turn 18, it started. If you are a newcomer, when you entered Canada, okay? So let's say you came to Canada last year. So last year you opened a tax-free savings account. So you have, let's say last year you didn't open. This year you want to open. When you open, you have last year because you were a resident last year. So you have last year and this year. So 13,500. So 13,500, you can decide that I want to put some money here, put some money here, put some money here, provided you don't exceed that. But what can the potential of what can grow in that account is unlimited, and it will never be taxed. Okay? And you can withdraw it at any time that you want. You will not be taxed. It's tax-free. That's why it's called tax-free savings account. Even though it says savings account, it doesn't mean that you should put all in savings. You can have stocks, you can have investment in your tax-free savings account. Okay? Any questions here? Okay, good. Yeah, it's a very good instrument to have, so let's take advantage of it. And now, recently the government also introduced, next slide please, the first home savings account, which is FHSA. So it's to help those who want to buy their very first home to save towards that. Okay, it has it's also a registered plan, so it will be registered, and then you will see it in your CRA accounts. It has a composition of RRSP and tax-free savings account, in terms that your contributions towards this are tax deductible. So if at the end of the year you made $70,000, you contributed to, let's say, $8,000 to tax-free first home savings account, you will say, this is what I contributed to my FHSA. I'm deducting it from my taxes. So your income becomes low and your tax is. The only thing is that tax-free is not deductible, okay? The only thing here is that the restriction on this account is that the account should be used to purchase a home in the next 15 years. So maximum 15 years. If you don't use it in the 15 years, you have to change it into an RRSP. 15 years it expires. Lifetime contribution, 40,000. All right? The annual contribution, 80,000. You can also roll it over. You open it this year, you contributed 2,000, you have 6,000, you add it to the following year. One tricky thing about this, unlike the tax-free where it's cumulative from year to year, this one, the maximum you can contribute in every year is the previous year and the current year. So the previous year you open, so if you open this year, you don't assume that tax FHSA started last year, so you have that 16,000. No, unlike the tax-free. So that's one thing that we have to be aware of. So everyone who is 18 to 71 can open that Canadian resident first home buyers plan. No tax on the investment gain, just like a tax-free savings account. Your withdrawals are also tax-free, but you must purchase a house by the 5th October of the following year. So if you withdraw this year, by next year, October, you must have used it to purchase a house. Otherwise, the government is going to tax you on that. Okay? It's a very good instrument, but everyone's situation is different, right? So you look at your taxation, what is your intention? You want to buy a house, you want to reduce your taxes, you want to take advantage of it, or you want to go into a TSFA, right? So all those things are available for us. The next slide, we do a comparison. So first home savings account, RRSP, TFSA, all of it, you can decide to buy stocks, you can do investment with them in the account, it grows, it's all allowed. You can get a portfolio managed for you, or you can do self-direct investment, it is also allowed. You can carry unused contribution room forward, all allowed, but you know, there are some little tricks there that you have to know so that you don't over contribute and get into trouble. RRSP, there's always a limit because that is based 18% of your income. Tax-free, set by the government for everyone. 7,000 is for everyone, right? So based on when you came to Canada or when you turned 18 in Canada, it starts from there. FSHA, as I said, SA, as I said, maximum 16,000. And all of it, tax deductible, yes. First home buyers, RRSP. TSFA, no. Tax-free savings account is not tax deductible. Tax sheltered, all of them, right? Tax-free savings account, if you use it to buy a house, good for you. You got tax deductible, you never pay the tax on the withdrawal, right? Awesome, right? RRSP, tax sheltered in the term that when you make the withdrawal, that's when you pay the tax. Tax-free savings account, you don't pay any tax on it. It's tax-free, as the name says. And then when you withdraw, yeah, so RRSP, you pay the tax, all of them have. So these are the comparisons that you look at whenever you want to make anything. And then if you need advice, if you can do it yourself, cool. If you can't, uh, talk to an advisor. They can help you assess your personal situation, and you get good advice. You can go to the banks also. I don't usually quarrel with the banks, but yeah. The problem I have is that when you go to the banks, always you meet a different person, right? But if you have one person who is dealing with you, managing your portfolio for you, they are better to deal with your situation and give you better advice. But there are a lot of options that take action is better than no action. Okay, do something. The next slide, we want to talk about personal, we talk about savings and then the income tax. So that is the personal income tax situation in Canada, right? So if your income is between less than 53,359, your tax bracket is 15,000 at the federal level. And then at the provincial level, this is for Ontario, right? So Ontario, less than 49,231. This is 2023, last year, is 5%, let's say 5%. So when you add it, that's the minimum, it's like 20% of your tax. So if at the end of the year, you see that, okay, I mean, this tax bracket, what can I do maybe to reduce my income tax? That's where then you have the RRSP coming in, right? Or you have your TSFA that you want to use to bring down your tax. So if you have an idea of this tax bracket, it helps you to strategize, right? To see where you want to put your money. So the next slide talks about income, how to understand income and wealth. Income is not the same as wealth, okay? So we have these two guys, John and Adam. John makes 150,000 a year. Cool, right? He makes 150,000 a year. Adam makes 50,000. But John is not investing, John is not budgeting, and John is a materialistic person. Adam, on the other hand, is investing his money, he's budgeting for everything, and he has a side hustle too. So, at the end of the year, John, who is making 150,000, he has a lot of income, his wealth is what? 0. And Adam, who is saving, and right, he has 20,000. So who is wealthy at the end of the year? The guy who has 20,000. And so income is not the same as wealth. So we have to have that at the back of our mind. Income, as we said from the beginning, have a steady income. It's a source to create the wealth, but it's not equal to wealth. Okay? Good. So the next slide, we want to look at how, like when you go to the bank, they do things we call asset and liability. They look at your net worth, right? So what is your net worth? Your net worth is basically your asset. So your asset is what you owe or what you have, right? What you own. Let me use my Ghana English. Own, yeah, not owe. Own, yeah, let me stress on the end. What you have, right? What you have, and the liabilities is what you owe. All right, you are indebted to somebody. So those are your liabilities and your assets. So your asset can be your savings and your investment. As young people, usually we don't have a house and we may not have a car. So basically, what is our asset? Our asset may be just our savings. Sorry? So now you've learned something little that what? Pay yourself first. So start savings, start investing, right? Then this is where you create the asset. So let's start doing that, and then the rest will come. So as a young person, yes, that is it. We don't have a house, we don't have a car, so we don't have retirement funds. So basically we have no asset. But so our asset is our savings, right? So let's start now, and then we get a savings. And our liabilities. We don't have assets, but we have liabilities, right? We have our credit card. We may have student loan. If you have a car, then you have a car loan as well, right? So those are what they use to assess our liability. So when the bank wants to see your net worth, they take your asset and they take your minus your liabilities, and then the balance is your net worth. And always your net worth should be higher than your liabilities. That is how you become wealthy. If it is always negative, then what do you have to do? Earn more money. Earn more money, right? Earn more money. Try to save more. Save more. Because the extra income is what is going to help you. Okay? All right. Good. So the next slide is another thing that when you go to the bank for your first loan, or when you go to the bank and you want a facility, this does not come in when you want to apply for a car loan. It comes in at the banks when they want to give you line of credit, or sometimes if they give it to you, it means they have done their own assessment, so they will give you a pre-approved. That's the best one. I got pre-approved many times. That's only when how I got started, right? Pre-approved. Immediately I run there. I want to take it, right? But then that time I remember on my own, I had gone there. I was refused. They even refused me credit card. BMO. I remember. I pledge. I'll never say with BMO. I'm like, coming from Ghana, I was a big man in Ghana. I applied for a credit card. You refuse me? No. Okay. So, yeah, but then another. So, debt to income ratio, right? So, when you are applying for a facility, they look at your income and they look at your debt. If it is, I think here it says, if it is below 20%, it's excellent. So basically, the ratio, right? How much debt you had, how much income you have. Then they assess the ratio. So if the ratio is 20%, that's excellent. You will get a facility. No worries, no struggles at all. 20 to 40% is average. 40 to 50% stress. It means your debt is like 50% of your income, right? So that is your debt. It's not your obligations. So 50% is your debt. You have only 50% also to meet all these 50, 30, 20 thing that we talked about. Okay? So make sure you don't get that. And if it's over 50%, basically you are working for the debtor. You are not working for yourself. So always ensure that your debt to income ratio is at least 20%, 30%. 40, I remember those times we were in the bank, we used to work in the bank, we say 40%, right? So make sure at worst situation, 40%. Because what happens is that if it is that you get to the stress situation that whatever you earn, you're working to pay your debt. So you have no life, right? So try as much as possible to stay that. So like sometimes we get a big house, right? And then these days the mortgage rates were going up. A lot of homeowners were very stressed because all of a sudden you were paying interest rates of 2% or maybe 1.1%, and all of a sudden it shot to 6 point something percent. Look at the gap, right? And you have to make up for that. So you get stressed, and then what do you have to do? You have to look for a second job, more income to come in to be able to be okay. So if we understand debt to income ratio, it helps us with our strategy going forward. So I will just briefly talk about 5 ways to boost your income. This is something which is already out there. There are new ways. I think you guys are very innovative, so you will know more than I know. Yeah, so 5 ways to boost your income. The next slide, please. One of it is the no-brainer. Get a second job, right? If you can, or if it's available, and if you can manage it, why not? Freelance, if you have the talent, you have the ability to get freelance. There are some websites like Upwork, freelancer to build profile, and then you can take it up from there. Uber is one of it, drive around town, or there's the share, whatever, if you have a car. You can join a direct sales company. You can rent out your home if you have a home, you have a space in your home. Airbnb is very distant now. And there are so many other things that you can do to bring in extra income. As we said from the beginning, extra income helps. If you want to create wealth, we need to build on the income and not to spend also on all the income that we earn. Okay, so these are some ideas to make some extra income. Okay, from the beginning, we spoke about the financial foundation, and what did we say? We build it from the ground up. Usually, we do it the other way around, right? So, I intentionally left this for the last. Protection. Anything can happen to us at any time. You can be disabled, you can fall ill, critical illness, that you cannot work anymore, right? So, as young people, most of the time we are like, oh, I'm too young. I have more life ahead of me. Life is not promised to anyone, right? Today we are here, tomorrow no, right? So, why do we take life insurance? So life insurance is basically to protect you, to protect your asset, or to pass on something to your dependable, your family or your loved ones if you are not here. It's not only that one. These days there are life insurance policies which has some living benefits in it. So if you don't pass away to leave something for your family, you can still enjoy something in the policy whilst you are living as well. So I just want us to get a basic understanding of life insurance options. There's something we call the term insurance. So term insurance usually will offer a coverage for a specific period of time for a guaranteed benefit. So you will hear people talk about term 10, term 20, term 35, those things. So term, for that term, and it's over. It has expired. So it has expiry date. Usually it is taking, term insurance is for your temporary needs, like you bought a house. The house you're not going to own, right? Sorry. You're not going to owe that money forever. So it's a temporary thing, right? So if you're a family, you bought a house, okay, if I'm not there, I want this money to be given to my family to keep the house, okay? So you can take a term policy, let's say 30 years, 25 years, 10 years. So that is term. You don't need to basically have a permanent insurance. Term can also be for your children's education because they're not going to be young forever, right? So those are temporary needs. Then there's the permanent insurance. Permanent insurance, there are two things. There's the whole life and there's the universal life. So whole life basically is, it gives you a coverage guaranteed for a certain period of time and has some benefits in it, which is cash. So it builds some fund in the policy for you, which you can access at a later time in your life, right? You can use that to do so many things. You can use it to increase the death benefit, or you can use it even to offset the premium that you have to pay on the insurance. Okay, so these are all surface. It's more in depth, but it's not for this presentation. And then there's the universal life. So universal life is basically insurance policy with an investment in it. So your premium that you pay part of the premium is put into an investment account, it grows there, and then it's used sometimes to support the policy. So it ends up being a little cheaper than whole life, but whole life you pay one amount and that's it, right? Universal life is kind of flexible, but you have to be someone who knows how to control your investment and you monitor your statements. Otherwise, it can get you into trouble. So those are two things: term life, permanent life insurance. Permanent life, you buy it today, it is forever. Whole life takes you one premium. For the rest, you can decide that young people, 20 years, I want to buy this policy and I'm done with it, and I have 500,000 policy or $1 million policy, right? So it's something that young people you should consider. And later, what happened? There's no power here? Okay, all right. We can use the slide. My laptop went off, but that's okay. Yeah, laptop died. All along I was using power, I didn't even see that. Okay, that's okay. We can use the slides. I'll talk from the slides. Next slide, please. So basically, let's compare the life insurance. So as I said, term is temporary coverage, whole life is not, universal life is not, right? It's more of, so permanent coverage is whole life, universal life, cash value, whole life, yes, you have cash value. Cash value means that there's money which has grown in the account which you can access for various things, right? So that's what the cash value means. Term does not have any cash value. So even if you surrender the policy, that's it. Whole life and universal, if you decide I don't want this policy anymore, they will give you some money back. Yes. We don't recommend that anyway. Once you buy it, keep it. It has a potential. So growth potential, the whole life has it, the universal life has it. Self-direct investment, whole life, you cannot do that. Whole life, once it's fixed, right? Universal life, you can decide, okay, today I want to put my investment here in bonds, you want to put it in stocks, you want to put it in index funds, whatever, you can do that. Guaranteed premiums, term, yes. Once you agree with the financial institution, insurance company, you're going to pay $100 every month, that is what it's going to be. Whole life, the same, $100 is going to be that. Universal life is flexible. You can decide that, okay, I'm paying $50 now. Later, I want to increase it as and when I get some money. When I'm stressed up, I want to come down a little. So the cost term is lower because it's temporary, right? Whole life is a bit high. It's the highest actually. And universal life is in the middle there. Next slide, please. So next slide is basically trying to tell us that we see these three people. The person on the left side is 35 years, and they have a policy, and they are paying $16 per month. The other person is 45 years, and they are paying $28. 55 years, and they are paying $74 for the same coverage. Let's say this one, I would just say, let's say $100. But the thing is this, insurance policy, the rates, the premium goes up once we age, right? It is by age, because the idea is that once you age, your time to pass away is, or you getting sickness, getting ill is higher than when you are young. So when you are young, you can get very, very, very cheap policy, and you can pay it off even within 20 years, right? So depending on your situation, you can get like $1 million coverage, and you will pay very little. And within 20 years, or if you want to pay longer, you can pay it off quickly, right? But once you age, it's always difficult. It becomes a little expensive. So let's think about that. And the next slide will talk about how some people have used insurance to create wealth and to create generational wealth. they pass it on, right? They pass it on. So if, for example, I have a coverage $1 million policy on my life, and tomorrow I'm not here, my family gets $1 million. They're already millionaires, right? If I had saved money, saved since I've been in Canada this 15 years, I may not have gotten that 1 million. But I bought a policy and I pass it on to them. So they have something to start with, right? Okay, so that's how they used to create generational wealth. A lot of Canadians, they use that. Now, some pillars, I'm not talking, these are all the pillars, 5 pillars, so I will say some pillars of wealth. A home, and then the tax implications. So if you have a home, your residency, let's say it costs 500,000, 400,000. The current value of the home is 1 million. The gain is what, 600,000. It's your first residence, so it's taxed 0%. Okay? If you have RRSP or pension fund or whatever, let's say you invested 400, now the current value is $1 million, your gain is 600,000, you would be taxed. 100% means that you will be taxed. It doesn't mean that they will tax you 100%. You will be taxed when you take it. You remember when we went through this, right? It's what? Tax deferred. Okay. Now you have a second home. It's what? Non-registered. It's a rental property. So it's not your primary home. So you invested 400,000 in the primary home. The current value of that rental property is 1 million. Your gain is 600,000. You would be taxed. I think now there's a capital gain tax, which is a new capital gains tax coming into effect very soon. Okay, so be mindful of that as well. TSFA. So TSFA, you invested 400,000 when we went through the slides, right? Remember? You invested 400,000, now it's 1 million, your gain is 600,000. If you take this 600,000, no tax. Tax-free savings account. If you bought a life insurance policy, $1 million, you were paying a premium, let's say 500, a young person maybe 100, 200 maximum. You'll be paying. The death benefit paid to your beneficiary is $1 million, is tax-free. Insurance is paid tax-free. So let's take note of that. These are how some pillars to build wealth. One thing that I talked about, if you open any of these registered accounts, please always remember to name a beneficiary on the account, right? The reason you have to name a beneficiary is that should something happen to you, that money in the account then pass on to you, your assigned beneficiary. If you don't have a beneficiary on the account, what happens is that it goes to your estate. The government appoints somebody to manage your estate, and the money is distributed how they deem fit, right? But you can decide that, okay, I have a tax-free savings account, I have $10,000 in it. Should something happen to me, it should go to Church of Pentecost. Oh yes, oh yes, yes. People buy life insurance. People buy life insurance, and when they pass on, they give it to charity. So I can buy 1 million policy on my life. If I pass on, this is my gift to Church of Pentecost for keeping me here and giving me salvation. Amen. Okay, I think I have the last slide, or that will be it. Okay, so the last slide, basically, the solution for a strong financial future. 1, reduce your debt. Please, click, yeah. I think, yeah, okay. Reduce your debt, pay yourself first, make more money. Build up equity, preserve your estate. As we saw in the previous slide, build up your equity. So you invest, your money grows, right? You bought a home, the home has appreciated, right? And then you preserve your estate, and then you can pass it on. Okay? All right, so this is all that I have for you today. Thank you very much for your attention. Any questions? All right, so thank you.
Dr. Andy, can you please go back one? Thank you. So I have maybe two.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I'll start with the very first point, that's reduce your debt.
Yes.
I am an international student, okay, and mostly when we meet and we have a discussion, one thing I realize is that it's sometimes difficult for international students because the system is a little bit hard, and that happens to be on the rise among international students. So in this case, as an international student, how do you curb something like this? Because sometimes when you are talking to your colleagues, they need some kind of ideas and some, but we are all in the same soup. So how do you provide some sort of, remedy to something like that? Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. So reduce your debt. When we went through the slide, we saw the good debt and the bad debt. So if the debt is like paying to get education, it's a good debt, right? It's a good debt because you are investing in yourself to earn a degree and have a higher earning potential in the future. So that's a good debt to have. And you're not going to offset that now that you are in school, but you're gonna take care of it once you start working and you start earning money, right? What I will say is that don't take on more debt. Know about the system. The credit card is attractive, but it can get you into serious trouble. The second one is make more money. Make more money. I know you were a student. When I was a student, I went to school in Russia. So what we used to do is that every vacation, we go to the UK, we do the dishes, we do all those things to make money, and then we come back. It was not like now that Russia is very rich. That time it was the Soviet Union time. So there was no way. International student, you go there, you are there, you don't get work to do. So once we are on vacation, we go outside, and we're doing some side hustles. We will sell here and there to make, even though they were giving us money. So use your talent. I've seen a lot of international students now, they are on YouTube, doing all sort of other things, right? So how do you reduce your debt? It to make extra money. Live within your means. Don't live wild, like when I came from Ghana, what I was doing. It was, I don't know why I was doing that. It was not good, right? An international student, you come and maybe you get a car. Are you using this car to bring in some money? So there are various things, right? Don't use the car as class, right? You are taking on more debt. Your school debt is 20,000, 30,000, right? The school fees are very, very high. So I would say don't take on more debt. Your school living expenses, right? Your grocery. You can't do anything about those ones. The ones that you can do something about it, do something about it. Expenses which are weighing you down. I talk about cable TV. Please, cut it, right? Telephone. Some of us, when we come here first, we don't know about this phone system here. But one guy gave me a good idea. When I met one international and said, oh, I was using a classic phone in Ghana, so that's what I brought here. So when he came, he didn't have to go through this phone thing to pay extra for the phone bill and get into a 2-year contract and all that. He used his phone from back home. He just bought a chip and he got a good facility. So sometimes when we come, international students, we don't know the system. So try to find out before you engage in high bills, right? Internet, for example, internet in the home. If you are going to rent a place, check with the landlord. Is there internet in the house that you can use? it should sometimes come with this high rent that you are paying. Yeah, so that you don't have extra to pay for internet, right? So all these are some of the things. So I would say reduce your debt, and it's for all of us. Reduce our debt, cut down expenses, unnecessary expenses. Let's cut them down. The obligations are there. You cannot run away from it. Let's make some extra money. Just use our talent. You can do translation, find out. Maybe you can be useful for your services may be needed somewhere, right? You can do translation. Those things, they are all there, all right? Let's look out for opportunities out there and avail ourselves. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you say you had two questions. Yeah.
And the second one, not really a question, I think has to do with the third bullet, which has to say make more money. So what I would say with that is literally someone will actually take this and try and burn out, like do extra to make sure he or she get that target. But what I would say here is that it should be something that it's more or less well planned. You don't have to burn out to make out like that target.
Yeah, I agree with you. We wanna make money to live well and enjoy it. It's not that make money to the detriment of your health, right? Your life is more important. There are some people who are working 2, 3, 4 jobs, right? That's why I was saying that some of the side hustles, you work for yourself. So if you don't have to go out there, you don't go. But if you have 3, 4 jobs, everybody demanding 8 hours of your blood, you have no sleep. You have no sleep. Me, when I came into the system, I was like that. I have been to the factories, I've been everywhere. And yeah, you stand, right? In Ghana, it was not like that. I mean, when you go Malcolm, you see all those people sitting down, laughing, chatting. Even though I'm standing there paying, they are chatting, right? Here you're on your feet, 8 hours, 30 minutes break. It's not, is it 30 minutes break or 20 minutes? Sort of like that, right? 15, 20, right? Yeah. Okay, so I would say make money, work smart, not harder. Work smart, not harder. Your health is more important. Okay, yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I would have, regardless what you said, that the third point, make more money, shouldn't go against your own safety. I would say yes and no at the same time, because if the first bullet, reduce your debt, is so high, the debt is so high that you have to make a lot of money, at the end of the day, it's like being subject by the government, having to work for them, or making sure that you have the money to recover your debt. So that's the point I want to make.
Yeah, good point, good point. But it all comes to working smart, not harder, right? Let's collaborate with each other, share ideas. There are so many ideas out there, right? Young people, sometimes I hear young people, innovative ideas from young people, and I'm amazed. I'm like, okay, I didn't know of this. So yeah, look out for those ideas that if you have a talent that you can use, like I said, translation, freelance. There's another one that I just jumped on recently, is about completing a survey online, right? So okay. Okay. Yeah. Right? It's not like it's to create wealth, but at least to give you some extra $2, $3, $4 here and there, right? It's not wealth created thing. But yeah, there are other things out there. Sometimes you have to you look at yourself and what you can do, right? Are you good at talking to people? Are you good at, let's say, selling financial services to people, right? Are you good at relationship? All those type of things you do for yourself, you do at your own time, you get commission. They are all out there, all right? Those people who do the art design, right? Businesses, they need the design, they know those things. So if you are creative, make use of your talent. Don't let it go waste. Don't dig a hole and put it in there. Advertise yourself. One thing also that I realize in the church is that we don't usually like tell among ourselves what we do. Somebody may want your expertise in something, right? Are you someone who is handyman, maybe from Ghana? You can do something, fixer, right? Those type of things. Let people know that you can do that, right? $10 here, $20 here, it can help. All right? So make use of your resources, your talent, and then, yeah. But don't work too hard to the detriment of your health. That is no. Your parents will not be happy they sent you to Canada to come and do that. So, yeah, that's what I would say. What's your name? I've been seeing you at Sarah. Okay, Sarah, a question from Sarah. No, I want a question from Sarah. Okay, so I will ask this. Sarah, are you working now?
Yes,
Yes. Do you have a tax-free savings account?
I do.
You do. Great. That's a good step. Are you saving consistently?
I locked like 6 for 2 years. So
You did like 2 years and you stopped.
no, I said I locked it
For
like
2 years?
For 2 years, and I put like I think 6 in there, 6,000 in there.
Oh, you just lump sum and then
Yeah, and I
Okay.
locked it, and then 2 years
and
I'll
then
do
you
it
locked
again.
it. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, good.
And
Good.
like it's going up. I don't know how, but
So that's the compound thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a GIC then.
Yeah, I said yes.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Good. So yeah. So now you know about the Rule 72.
Yes.
Good. So you learn
That's
something.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when the time is coming, now look at your options and see other options. Now, one other thing, as I said, pay yourself first. It's not like pay yourself a big one. You can start small, $25. These days they have pre-authorized debit, right? So pre-authorize every little thing that you can contribute, set aside for your savings to grow, right? Yeah. So I know, like my brother said, you had a lot of debt, you have this, but little one, set it aside. You'll be surprised how much it will be growing, right? I remember a friend of mine who used to have this card that anytime that they use, they put some money aside for him, and he was not touching it. At some time he went and he saw, wow, this thing is, right? So, yeah, let's set something aside from whatever that we are earning, and then, yeah, it will work for us. Okay, any other question? Brother Randy, you have a question? I know you are the big boy, but you have a question, or you have a contribution. Let me say that. A contribution for our young people here. Good.
Just another place to also put your money away for investing is the FHSA, which is brand new. That's for your first home, and you can actually put away $8,000 a year tax-free towards purchasing your first home. So that's also another investment vehicle, because you can, when you put it in there, it's like a tax-free savings account. It has the compound interest as well. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for watching online. God bless you. We pray next time that you can join us in person. Amen. Amen.